Hello everyone, it's time to show you how to make a pattern shell on someone using duct tape. This takes place in 3 stages: applying the duct tape, drawing the measurement lines, and cutting off the duct tape shell when you're done. Give this video a watch through to the end before you begin taping. Here we go. You'll need a few things before you can begin. 2 people, a pair of scissors, an old t-shirt that you're willing to cut to ribbons, or a large garbage bag, a few colors of felt tip permanent markers, and, of course, a decent-sized roll of duct tape. Now, about those 2 people. One of you, person A, will be applying the duct tape, and the other, person B, is the one getting taped. Person B is going to have to be comfortable being touched by person A because there is going to be a lot of that. Let's begin. As you can see, we're taping our mannequin, named Bill, who has been covered with an old garbage bag. T-shirts are easier to tape over, but we don't have any left that fit. Begin by applying a long strip of duct tape over the mid to low ribs, all the way around to the back. You want to start here in the middle of the person because the duct tape is more likely to end at the same elevation you start at. The first strip should ideally be long enough to go all the way around and stick to itself. The most important thing about applying duct tape is that you follow the curves of the body you are taping. You don't want the tape to scrunch and crinkle as you go because you're trying to keep a horizontal line. That will throw off the measurements and be much messier in the end. Just go with the flow and follow whatever curves you find. You will fill in any missing bits later as you go along. Do a few strips from the front, then do a few from the back. I usually start in the middle and then work my way down. Then I return to the middle and work my way up to finish off. Remember, the duct tape has to cover everything the corset will, and then some extra on top and bottom to allow for the lines to be drawn on. Let's speed up the video for the rest of this segment and you can just watch. The center front line is exactly what it sounds like, a vertical line from top to bottom going right over the belly button. It must be perpendicular to the ground. Use a plumb bob or a ruler if you're having trouble drawing it. Mark both sides of the line with CF and draw arrows pointing up. Once the pattern is cut off the body, it won't be obvious which way is up. The center back line is also exactly what it sounds like. Kitty is demonstrating with a ruler this time. It also must be perpendicular to the ground. Both sides of the line must be labeled CB. Again, draw arrows on both sides pointing up. The top line is the top edge of the corset as it follows your figure. You'll want the dip of the V to start around the height of the fullest part of your chest. We'll be measuring that line later. If you make a mistake as you go along, that's fine. Just be sure to cross out the wrong line clearly and repeatedly. Make sure it doesn't get too close to your armpit as you go under the arm. This is a good time to sit down to make sure the top of the corset won't ride up too far when you do. There is boning on the side of a corset. You will be unhappy if it starts poking you in the armpit. The bottom line is the lower edge of your corset. Shape it how you like, within reason. You can go straight across or you can go up over the hips and then down again. Now definitely sit down. Observe where your legs bend when you sit. Does it make the preliminary lower line scrunch up? The line must be at the crease of your leg or higher. Do not draw the final line too close to where your legs start to bend when you sit, or your corset will stab you in the thighs whenever you try to sit down. And that sounds like a bad thing. For the full chest, tie a string horizontally to the ground around the fullest part of the chest. It needs to be reasonably level. This is the line that the V of the top line needs to get close to. As you can see, corset boning is straight. If the corset boning has to go too high to get to the dip of that top line V, it will be quite obtrusive. No hiding that under clothing. Now, trace a line along the string and label this new line full chest or FC. Label it on both left and right sides. Here on Bill, you can see that our top line is too far above the full chest line. This wouldn't work at all. You may need to redraw your top line so the center front isn't much higher than the full chest line. The rib cage line follows the part on you where your chest turns into your rib cage. This is usually the narrowest part of your rib cage. This line should be marked relatively level all around the body. Mark it clearly with RC for rib cage. The waistline isn't very obvious on Bill. You want to draw it horizontally wherever you indent the most, above your hip bones. It must go in the hollow area over your hips where you have no bone. See how Kitty is poking Bill's side to emphasize it. The waistline must not be over your hip bones. That would be very, very, very bad. Again, just tie a string around and adjust it until it's in the right position. Then trace your waistline and label it waist. Draw both vertical side lines directly under the armpit and perpendicular to the ground. It's easy to use a ruler here. To summarize, you want to draw where the top line should be, all around the body. You want to mark where the lower hem of the corset should be, all around the body. Mark the center front line and the center back line. Draw the full chest line, where the wearer sticks out the most in the chest area. You want to mark the rib cage line, where your chest turns into your rib cage. Mark the waist above the hip where you are boneless and squishable. And you must make the wearer sit down to make sure that the lower hemline isn't too low anywhere, because the boning is coming right down to that line and you don't want it jabbing you in the thighs when you sit. Before you start snipping, always keep your fingers between the tip of the scissors and the skin of person B. Always. Now, We have found the best way to cut off the duct tape shell is from the front. Following the center front line, cut from the bottom towards the top. Once you get most of the way up, stop, reposition, and continue from the neckline down. As you can see, I didn't do this with Bill because she has no neck to accidentally stab. When cutting the shell off a real person, don't do what I just did. Scissors can slip, and we don't want to go to the hospital, do we? Just use your common sense and be careful. So, that's it. If you have any questions, just contact us via our website, felixandkitty.com. Cheers!